Before we jump into all the content and dig into all our dirty and not dirty secrets, I would be interested in, like, what is your connection with HR transformation? Has any one of you, like, being part of an HR transformation or being part of an HR transformation project? Okay, that's good. So yes, of course, we invite you to jump in and share your experiences as well, and we will be at a round table, so maybe you want to join us as well later on, and then we can exchange on that as well. So for the Körber group, and we had separately from each other some discussions early on, like, what is Körber doing? And I said, oh, I don't want to spoil it. And I think that's one of the main challenges, that we try to get a glimpse of Körber, not in too much detail, but it's so complex that even for us, after so many years, it's not so easy to give that in a short time frame. So just some facts and figures, but I think the most important topic that I want to share with you, and that also part of why we are doing things a certain way, is that Körber, the Körber group itself, is part or is in a transformation. So we are coming from a lot of companies, a lot of business areas focusing really on producing machines. So coming from a machine engineering company, transforming, we are not 100% there yet, but we are along the journey to transform into a technology group that is not only building machines, but creating ecosystems. I've heard it so many times today. So creating the software, the artificial intelligence, so having companies that can cover everything for the client to be. So that's the aim. And yes, we are, I would say, a mid-sized company. It always depends on how you look at it. So with 12,000 employees, we have 5 business areas. Karsten, of course, has a challenge to dig into the business areas later, so bear with me on that one. And yes, so the challenge is 12,000 employees in over 120 countries worldwide. But covering the biggest percentage of the market. So we have Europe, we have Americas, and we have Asia, which also leads to a big challenge that we have. We have a lot of countries where we have business in, but with only very, very few employees in there. So to cover in an HR transformation the whole world, connected with having a lot of countries, and a lot of countries with only very few people, does bring a challenge in itself. And I think something that is really special about Körber is, so there's a Körber Foundation, which I've heard some of you know already. That's actually the thing that usually people know when they hear Körber. Usually they don't know what is the Körber group doing. And actually before I joined Körber, I had to Google it when a headhunter asked me to join for Körber. So, but it's definitely worth Googling it. And the Körber Foundation is our owner. So whatever money we produce, they are asking us for results and producing results, which gives us some sort of freedom and independence when it comes to making business decisions as well.
Yeah, thanks, Katharina, for the intro on the numbers. So you have a glimpse on the numbers and the geography, but what are we actually doing? And let me guide you through those 5 pillars that Körber consists of, and I will use digital as the very last one. I will start with what we call technologies, the second to the right here. What you actually see in the machine is not very common these days anymore. Yes, it is cigarettes. And that is what Mr. Körber started back then in Hamburg, a company to produce machines that produce cigarettes, as easy as that is. And we were selling those machines to the big companies like British American Tobacco, etc. So we are a pure B2B business from its heritage. Founded close to Hamburg, or in Hamburg actually. Well, we living in the center of Hamburg always say it's not Hamburg, but it's geographically it's Hamburg. So that is where technologies is basically coming from. That business is transforming because obviously tobacco is less and less a business. It's shrinking, but we are also going into cell making, so battery manufacturing. So we do a lot of engineering in that space. Secondly, a very good business next to tobacco during COVID, by the way. Consumption of cigarettes went up, so not too bad here. The second one also not too bad during COVID. You recognize already I try to look positive at things, and COVID is not easy to look positive at. But here in this case it is. So supply chain, what is this? What you see here is basically a robot that is working fully automated in a warehouse. And if you order something at one of the big retail stores, or if you buy a car, well, those parts are stored in a warehouse, and that those warehouses we can build fully automated, and those robots are driving around packing whatever needs to be packed and send it out fully automated, and it's all delivered by Körber, build up and send. Well, the other one, you see vials here, but there's also syringes that we do fill, inspect, pack and deliver. What is it? It's the whole pharmacy sector, and every one of you who got vaccinated for COVID, for sure that vaccine was packed and inspected by a Körber machine, because we are the market leader for those machines. So you see, so somehow you have a connection with several of the products already. Then there is one that we always have an issue talking about with, but we are all connected to it on a daily basis. It's the toilet paper. We produce machines to produce toilet paper. And as crazy as it sounds, the machine to produce toilet paper is almost exactly the same as kitchen towels, because it's rolled paper. Tissues is different, that's folded, completely different machine. We do that all as well, but that is what we connect to. And especially in Germany, where during COVID, toilet paper was out of stock, companies went up 7 times 24 production in the tissue area. Our service engineers, we had a good business there. So you can see in those domains, COVID was quite okay from a business perspective, nothing else. Last but not least, you see it here a little bit. You have a machine in the background, you have a tablet in the front. That is what digital is about. It's not only our machines, but it's basically building a digital logic on top of machine parks of companies, giving them a software where they can increase the productivity, so the uptime of a machine. Every second a machine is not producing, it's dead money, so we want to increase. And the business model there is fairly simple. With every dollar they get more out of the machine, we get a share of it. So we don't sell it for €1, but we basically earn the money while the software is doing its job. So that is roughly what Körber is about. So in each of those domains, we do have software as well to run the machines, and it's all connected. So hopefully, when you next time hear Körber, you have a much better understanding of what Körber is about. Well, we're not here to tell you everything about Körber, but we want to continue about HR.
Yes, and of course, what is going on at Körber, the journey, the transformation itself from the machinery, from having Körber only as the roof with a lot of decentralized, smaller, bigger companies underneath, but more or less independent of each other, partially not knowing each other, into transformation, one Körber as one brand, generating one brand to bring the ecosystem idea behind it across to the clients and the benefit of it. So there's a lot of going on when it comes to how do we create one culture, how do we create one brand, how do we make people love the Körber blue you saw before. So this is something that has just recently changed within the Körber transformation. And I think this explains a lot why we have been doing things the way we did, which might seem from an outside perspective a little bit strange, I have to say. So as I have been working in a consultancy like before Körber, and I've consulted on HR transformation in different countries, and I've never had an HR transformation in almost 8 years consultancy the way we did it, and we're doing it at Körber. So that's really special, with all the good and bad things coming to it. So first of all, of course, HR, we are doing this not for our own purpose. So of course, we see ourselves as the enabler also for the business. And I mean, this is something along the journey we want to bring across, of course, to some of the more old school management people, to say HR can help support the business, not only reactively, also proactively, to drive the business in the direction you want to go and shape the strategy together with you. So of course we need to have answers to strategy questions, situations that arise at Körber. So we do have a really ambitious growth agenda. So that's one of the driver actually to start this HR transformation, because in whatever BA, business area you looked, or company, everyone was more or less helpless to figure out how do we approach this growth agenda we have. So there needed to be an answer. So we included that in the idea and the design of our organization. So we are Körber, as I said, we come from Körber. It's totally okay to be under one roof, but everyone can do more or less whatever they want. That's very, of course, that's very black and white. Moving into, no, we want to do things together, and for that we need to create a certain surrounding. So this is something where we needed to find answers in HR, in the HR organization as well. Digitization, of course, as a technology-driven, moving into a technology-driven company, of course we cannot stop with digitization at HR and the functions at Körber. So of course we need to see how we can use digitization to, well, to really to level the quality of HR. So we don't see this as a purpose of just digitizing, but we found out that when we talk about a certain level of professionalization within HR, it stops if you do not consider the digitization, the HRIT systems, and so on. So we started actually because I know usually HR transformations are required by the board. So usually the board member says, we want to do something, and we have a project, it's an HR transformation, and now we conduct it. So at Körber, when I started end of 2014, in 2015 I sat together with all head of HR for each business area, and we said we need to do something. And to sum it up, and suddenly it was an HR transformation. So coming from a working group, suddenly being an HR transformation and asking the board for money for this HR transformation. So if you call the head of HR bottom up, then I have to say it was a bottom up approach, which I have not experienced before, which also brings a lot of pros and cons, of course, along the way as well. So we set up the project, One Körber HR. We sat together and we looked at all the organizational models that are on the market for HR, and with all head of HR, very basic democratic, days and days, putting things on the wall, puzzling our HR organization, having external consultancy helping us, and what is on the market, what do you think might fit to this and that. So that was very interesting, very uncommon approach to design an HR organization. And I think the Dave Ulrich model, I think all of you know, it's not sophisticated, it's not something new, but we needed to start with something that fits to the old machinery business as well as to the technology-minded business. So we said, okay, we take the 3-pillar model from Dave Ulrich, but we adjust it. That means we add certain aspects to it. So, and if you want to know more about it, of course, let's dig deeper into this later. So we added a plus area. I'm part of the plus area, so I'm responsible for governance, project, strategy, and I'm the project lead for that project. So, and this is something we added like a task force for certain topics, HRIT, the area I'm responsible for, and so on. So we have the classical 3-pillar with a center of expertise, the HR business partner, the employee services, so the shared services for HR administration. And we added a recruiting center, which is one of the most important levers for giving answers to the growth aspect. So we have started the project 4.5, 5 years ago, I would say. So the recruiting center, for example, was our pilot because we knew everyone wants the recruiting center. So there's not a lot of change discussion and acceptance. So this has been running for 5 years now. And yeah, we were able to decrease a lot of headhunter costs. So no external headhunting for management position and certain professional positions. So yes, so if you want to know more, if you want to exchange on that, let's use the time later and tomorrow, of course, as well. So we came to the point, we were always talking about organizational structures, but we came to the point, and we have not been IT people, where we said, okay, without these systems, there's a boundary. We will not increase quality in any sense if we do not have systems in the background. So Karsten will dig deeper into that, like what are the systems that are our backbone for the whole HR organization. Without those two systems we have implemented, the whole service delivery model would not work as we implemented. So they are really important for us. That's why one of the plus function to highlight that is HRIT. So we have 2 people there focusing worldwide on HRIT systems, the governance of it, and so on and so on.
Stay where you have been. I need to do the handover of the slides first. So this slide very nicely, as Katharina explained, is the organizational setup. So we have a CHO, that's our boss. Katharina herself works here in the plus. I myself currently doing 2 roles. I'm globally responsible for what we call employee services, so personal administration and payroll around the globe. But I'm also what we call a head of HR, so being responsible as an HR person for all the HR business partners in pharma. So those guys with those vials and syringes, machines, and making sure that we can get vaccinated. So this is our organization, but an organization doesn't deliver a service. And we as HR are a service organization. So the question is, how do we as HR actually deliver our service? How are we approachable to employees, managers, but also to top manager needs? And that answer is basically the service delivery model. How does HR deliver its service? So that model exists if you look it up on the web in different formats, and this is the format we have chosen for. So on the left-hand side, you have 100% of the questions. On the right-hand side, you hopefully have answered them all. So they all go through the stage. Yeah, I know this is not zero. I know everyone says it always, but it's graphically challenging to do it different. So excuse me for that. So we do have basically 4 groups of people that HR needs to support. We do have the regular employee. That's you and me. That's every one of us. And each of the employees, some of them might be managing people. So they, next to being an employee, also are a manager. And what in HR terms defines a manager? Well, you're asking a question about someone else and you're entitled to. There's no difference for HR other than that. And then, of course, you do have, well, we always call them the pensioners, but basically it's all former employees. So it's those that still, I need a confirmation for my health insurance, I need this, I need that, and they had already left the company. So we still need to serve them as well. And last but not least, we do have those big guys on the top that have those strategic questions, say, hey, we are buying a company, how do we set up HR for it? We are divesting a portion, and those strategic topics. And all of those, basically in the end, use what we call the MyHR portal, so a self-service portal, where they kind of get answers to their standard questions. And we do use SAP SuccessFactors, our online human resources system, where the employee data is maintained, but also where we do the recruiting and in the future as well, learning, development, etc. So all of that is basically where there is a self-service as the first point. So far, so clear? Yeah. So if you are not getting help here, you either call, send an email, or in Germany especially, we are forced to send contracts in paper with a real signature, thanks government. So we also have a postal way to send contracts back and forth, and they end up with what we call employee services. So those 2 boxes are employee services, and that is the organization I'm heading. And there we basically have advisors. Those are like a contact center, not a call center. Call center, not really educated usually. They just read from the screen. They can't really help you. They don't satisfy you. HR advisor, HR experts. They know answers, they can help you. But they can't help you with everything. So they do have specialists in the background, like a payroll expert, that might work on your question and send the answer back to you so that you're satisfied as an employee. If the solution specialists don't have an answer, that might be either it's a more conceptual question, so it goes to one of the centers of expertise, so it's a governance question to Katharina. I want to change an HR process, or it's more strategic consulting, then it goes into the pillar of the HR business partners. That is roughly how HR is delivering its service. We do have one shortcut that's on the very top. Where's that pointer? Here. So that one, and that is our top management. If they really say, hey, we have a divestment, we have something more strategic, then they can obviously reach out to their dedicated business partners straight away. Now the question is, well, that's the service, how we deliver it. But Katharina said already, we do have IT systems that support us. So how does all of that work together? So for the IT geeks, I just created an overlay and underline it. So we have SAP SuccessFactors as the employee or manager self-service. You can go in, maintain your address, maintain your bank account yourself. Done. Job done as an employee. And we do have ServiceNow, who is a market leader for service management, and we use it in HR as the MyHR portal and the ticket system. So this is where all the requests are coming in and are documented. And then we still do have a few local systems. We're still working on them. We don't talk too much about that.
No, don't focus on that.
I need to remember to make that box a lot smaller. All of that works as single sign-on. Technology behind it is what we call Microsoft Azure. So basically, it recognizes you. It says, oh, you're Katharina. Oh, you're Katharina Sedat, working for Körber AG. How may I help you? That's basically it. Then we do use Microsoft Teams for the phone connection that I've said here already. And all of that ends up as a ticket, as an HR request in ServiceNow again. It's just the same ServiceNow as this one, so it's the same system where we follow up on all the requests. And we use that same system, and there we are a little bit market leader, especially on the German market for mid-sized companies, for the digital personnel file. So if you're sending a request in and say, hey, my title is wrong, well, what does an HR person do? Look at your contract. Where's your contract? In your digital personnel file. So your request is here, wrong title, but the file as well, so it's just one click away, and it's super easy and fast for them to help. And of course, as I said already, recruiting, but also in the future, time management is in SAP SuccessFactors. This is where every employee is actually being hired and then does his life cycle and then at a certain moment retires. So that's the one source of truth. And behind all of that, a small box again, we don't talk about it too much because it's not standardized yet, and that is our payroll systems.
No one wants to do that project, so if you volunteer to standardize payroll.
Volunteers, just join.
I know.
So what you do see is we have basically chosen for a very simple landscape, because why is it simple? Well, this one is IT and is there anyway already. This is IT and is there anyway already. This has been there and that has been there. So all we did is implement SAP SuccessFactors for the master data and the recruiting, and ServiceNow for your self-help portal with the Google-like search. You just type in holiday, whatever, then you see what you're entitled to. And the same system also for the digital personnel file. So basically 2 systems where we now, the first time, just hit a button and see what's the head count, how many FTEs do we have, where are they located, what is the spread between male and female. To be honest, only in those countries where we are live. And as Katharina said, we're still working on it. So we have 90% of the population roughly covered. And the remaining 10% is, as always, is the biggest work to do.
In many countries.
In many
that's
countries.
A challenge.
Correct. So that's basically how we deliver our HR services. What have we learned, Katharina?
Well, before I share that, I would like to, because in the box you see master data workflows, recruiting time. So that's a as-is situation. So of course you could ask, like, where's the sexy stuff? I mean, where is learning, development, and workforce analytics and so on? So this is something, of course, we have a vision. So this is something we want to add up. But to be honest, in this very basic democratic surrounding we are at, with a lot of pros, one of the cons is things take a lot of time because we need to get everyone on board. So this is something on our list. So at the moment we have a project running. We finally started with learning, to bring learning more and more into success factors and out of the old systems which are not that attractive. So you can put like / and ... So there's a lot of more to come, but probably not tomorrow and not in January 2023, maybe 2024, 5. We will see. So a lot for us to do. And yeah, what did we learn? Before I switch on to the next slide, and I think that's very important also to consider when you think, oh, like, okay, that sounds really like they took a lot of time. And yes, I think our HR transformation, when I put on my ex-consultancy hat, we take a lot of time for that. I hope, that's my argument, that it will be more sustainable. So that's really what we aim at. But that's really the topic. When I joined Körber, if they would have told me that projects like an HR transformation needs to be done in order to save money, I would not have joined Körber, because then I would have stayed in the consultancy or do something else. So what motivates me really, and that's, I mean, I'm at Körber almost 8 years, which is quite scary, but also a commitment, is that we do this, and that's really, the board is behind it to increase quality. Because we do have a different level of maturity of HR portfolio in the different companies. How much money are the companies earning? Is there a lot of money for HR portfolio or not, or just the basics, payroll and some recruiting? So the aim is to raise the level of maturity, of quality for the HR portfolio. And that's really like my personal motivation to do this for a long time, to stick with this, because I really stand behind it and believe in it. And I think that's really special, because from my experience, a lot of HR transformation have been done to decrease costs. So, yes, what did we learn?
We learned something.
We still learn every day, actually, because we are not at the end. Do you want to start?
Yeah, happy to start. So first one, I will just classically start on the top left, the yellow bubble. That's one, HR governance. So what we have learned is multifold. On the one hand, we have decided that our organization, we're not going to fire people and hire somewhere in a low-cost country. No, we want to keep the experience, which means that the organization is a fully virtual organization. Well, shortly later, COVID happened, so it was anyway everything virtual. So that also helped a bit, but still it remains a challenge, because people are sitting locally, they have local challenges, they have local priorities, and we need to manage that as one team. And therefore the governance in terms of who's reporting to whom, how do we do a meeting cadence, how do we accept changes to HR processes that we have established, all of that governance around, so how do we do things, is absolutely crucial, that everyone in the organization understands it, to know how to submit those and not always work against each other, because that is just wasting energy, money, time, power, everything.
So I would choose the HR community and sub-communities, because I think what Karsten just said, like in this, and HR is very decentralized, so to create the sense of belonging, especially as part of this HR transformation, where for HR community, every stone has been turned and things has been put upside down. So it's a major change, and we talked about the curve, and to really to give the HR community a sense of, hey, we belong together, it's okay. the things I do will change. I'm not a generalist. I find myself in the 3 Pillar Plus organization once again. And but still, maybe I have been at a company where I was the only HR person, and when I was sick or when I was on vacation, no one was doing it. I came back and I had to do like 3 weeks night shifts. I was alone. I had no one I could exchange with. There was no community to share, no storage of templates, approaches that other people have done in the same surrounding. I could just reuse. So this is something we still try to bring across to the community, that they not only sit there and like I'm hosting the community calls for different groups and for the overall community. So to make them participate really actively and to use and grab what they need for their daily work and to improve their situation and their motivation for this job. To really, it's a push and pull. So we try to really enforce also the pull and not only the push. We are not there yet, but we have really gone some steps on that. So the community is so important for us to connect. And then the technique, I'm not really a technical person, so for me, their teams needs to work, but it's really good like that it does work because it's so reliable that we don't have to worry about systems, so we can focus on the content when it comes to the communities.
Good. In view of time, I'll speed up a little bit. So I'll take the bottom 3 ones remaining there. So one HR IT leading system. It was absolutely crucial that from the very beginning we said SAP SuccessFactors is where the employee is, as I always say, is born. And any other system, is it the IT system where you get your user ID? Is it whatever system gets its data from there? If you don't have the HR system as the source system or the mother of the systems or the father, however you want to call it, then you really have a problem, because then it's only double maintenance and no one will care of it. And then the data is outdated. It's not reliable. It's not used. So we, from the beginning, said shall be on top, and it is on top. And on the bottom right, the globally connected via Teams, that's the other IT portion we are using. And since the implementation of Microsoft Teams at the beginning of COVID, we had like 3 different online meeting systems. No one knew what to use. That has been standardized amongst the company worldwide, and that is helping us tremendously to stay also globally connected and exchange HR information. Last point I will take is the One HR process framework. From the beginning, we have worked towards standardization, and we have used a standard market model that we have then localized, and we still allow our local companies to say, well, your onboarding checklist is slightly different because you have a company bike, and yours is different because you support with something else. That's perfectly fine, and we support you in that. But how that onboarding checklist is being sent to the manager and that the manager is responsible with the employee to run through it, that is the same for everyone, because we want to have the same quality standards for every employee that joins us. And that has been crucial to the success. Top 3, Katharina.
Perfect. So the connection to the task forces, because when we went live with the different countries, of course, to go live with a process framework, we did a process standardization. There are some globally, some country-wise standardization, but we are far away from having really standardized processes. So we know we have a lot to do also to improve, continuously improve our processes. So how do we do this? Of course, we needed to create a sort of task force. So we do have a task force with people from the different 3 Pillar Plus areas to work in those teams on the processes that we have agreed on to improve those processes. They do that, of course, on top to their job, but this works quite well. Capacity is always a topic, but from the content topic, this does work quite well. Process audit and process quality. So we do have some very few companies that have not gone as far as we would have liked them to go. So we said, I think a few years after go live, we need to make a checkpoint to see how far are they from what we have defined and designed together a few years ago. So we implemented a process data and audit format. We could apply to every company where we think that might be of use. And this is always together with a local business partner in the companies. So we just piloted it last week. It was interesting. It worked quite well. We can improve on some things. So if you have experiences on that, I would be really glad to hear your experiences on that. And yes, with that, 11, we have 4 minutes left. So I would say it's time for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.